All right, today we're looking way up into the atmosphere to understand these powerful, invisible highways that can shave hours off your flight and, believe it or not, completely control your weather forecast. We're talking about jet streams.
So here's our flight plan. First, we'll get a handle on these rivers in the sky. Then we'll jump into the really surprising discovery during wartime. After that, we're going to look at what powers them, meet the two main currents, and see how they act as our planet's weather architect. And we'll land on a crucial takeaway for anyone who flies.
So let's start with the basics. What exactly are these invisible highways? To really get it, let's start with the mystery you might have even experienced yourself.
Have you ever noticed this? You fly from New York to London, and it's, say, an hour shorter than the flight back home. The distance is exactly the same, so what's going on? What's giving that plane a massive speed boost in one direction? Well, the answer is a powerful, invisible river in the sky. The jet stream.
When you strip it all down, a jet stream is just a narrow ribbon of incredibly fast-moving air. It flows for thousands of kilometers right at the altitude where commercial planes fly. The best way to picture it, just think of it as a literal river of air flowing through the atmosphere.
And the scale here is just immense. We are not talking about some gentle breezes. These are currents that are hundreds of kilometers wide, with winds consistently blowing over 100 kilometers per hour and sometimes hitting close to 400. I mean, that's faster than a high-speed train.
So how did we even find out about these things? You might think it was through some careful scientific study, but the truth is, it was a complete accident, discovered right in the middle of a world war.
Picture it. It's World War II. American bombers are flying west toward Japan, but they notice their ground speed is just incredibly slow, almost like they're flying into an invisible wall. Then, on the return trip, heading east, their planes are suddenly pushed along at unbelievable speeds. They had completely accidentally stumbled right into the polar jet stream.
And that accidental discovery? It totally transformed modern aviation. Today, pilots flying east will deliberately find and ride the jet stream like a surfer catching a wave. It saves a ton of time and fuel. And of course, on the way back, they do everything they can to avoid it. So, where do these huge rivers of wind actually come from? Well, the answer is in what you could call the engine room of our atmosphere, and it's all powered by one fundamental thing: contrast.
The key ingredient you need is a big difference in temperature over a short distance. Just imagine a winter day where it's all warm and balmy in southern Florida, but just a few hundred kilometers north in Georgia, it's near freezing. That sharp temperature clash on the surface is the trigger.
See, that big temperature difference on the ground causes a huge difference in air pressure way up high in the atmosphere. And just like water flowing downhill, air always wants to flow from high pressure to low pressure. When that pressure difference is really steep, the air flows incredibly fast, creating that high-speed river of wind. And that's it. That's how a jet stream is born.
Okay, so now we know how they're made, it's time to meet the two main players that dominate our skies: the polar jet and the subtropical jet.
As you can see, they've got some key differences. The polar jet, that's the one we've been talking about mostly. It's in the mid-latitudes, and it's way stronger in the winter when those temperature contrasts are the greatest. The subtropical jet is closer to the equator, and, it's generally weaker. When it comes to our daily weather, the polar jet is the real powerhouse.
And this is where it all comes together. Why should you care about this high-altitude thing way up there? Because the jet stream is the master architect of your daily weather forecast.
It's actually surprisingly simple. The polar jet acts like a big fence, separating cold polar air in the north from warmer air in the south. So, if that river of air dips south of where you live, you're on the cold side of the tracks, and you can bet on colder, drier conditions.
And you guessed it, the opposite is true too. When that jet stream meanders north of you, it opens the door for warmer, more humid air to push right into your area. So a little wiggle in that river, miles above our heads, directly changes the weather you feel on the ground. But its job is even bigger than that. The jet stream is what steers big storm systems across continents. Its wavy path is like a global conveyor belt. It pushes cold air down towards the equator and pulls warm air up towards the poles. And it's constantly working to balance out the entire planet's temperature.
Okay, our final takeaway brings us right back to where we started: air travel. And this one comes with a bit of a warning. We've all been there, right? You're cruising along at 35,000 feet, the sky is a perfect clear blue, and the pilot comes on the intercom to remind everyone to keep their seatbelts fastened. Why? I mean, what's the danger? It's not something you can see.
The answer is something called clear air turbulence, or CAT. Right at the edges of the jet stream, you have these layers of air moving at wildly different speeds. The friction between them creates these invisible, sometimes violent pockets in the air. A plane can fly right into one without any warning, causing a sudden, really jarring drop. It is the single best reason to always keep that seatbelt fastened when you're in your seat.
And really, that's the whole story. From speeding up our flights and dictating our weather to creating hidden dangers in a clear blue sky, the jet streams are just this profound example of the powerful, unseen forces that are constantly shaping our world. They remind us that the atmosphere's invisible rivers don't just shape our weather, they show us the powerful, unseen forces that govern our world.